Well, away from that, members of the National Assembly are set to debate and vote on the bill that would allow an increase in the number of special seats in Parliament. The bill, if passed, will guide the achievement of the two-thirds requirement on the National Assembly and the Senate membership. President Uhuru Kenyatta and CORD leader Raila Odinga have urged members of Parliament to turn up in large numbers to vote for a bill on the two-thirds gender rule. They noted in a statement on Wednesday that leaders must model the example of submission to the Constitution and the laws that they pass. On April the 22nd, women members of Parliament said they will pass the bill and started lobbying men MPs to turn up and vote in their favor. Parliament kicked off an emotive debate on the rule on March the 24th this year as the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2015 entered its second reading. The National Assembly failed to meet last year's August deadline for enactment of the law. We now join our reporter Patrick Amimo, who is joining us live from the Parliament buildings just to keep us up to date on the same. Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us. This is going to be a very crucial vote, not only to the parliamentarians, but to the country at large. Just give us the highlights of this particular bill.
Thank you, Akisa. In fact, this afternoon, members of the National Assembly are going to vote for this particular critical affirmative action bill that will ensure that there is at least not more than one gender is, not more than two-thirds of either gender is represented in Parliament. And this particular bill was moved by the Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, and it's been a lobbying process. It will ensure that it will change Article 9 of our Constitution on party lists to ensure that after the election, depending on the party strength, parties elect top up the positions with regard to those special seats will be topped up to ensure that at least they reflect the one-third gender rule. So it is a matter that will be canvassed in Parliament this afternoon, and these changes will cut across the National Assembly, the Senate, up to the county assemblies at the grassroots. And with me here is Isiolo County Women MP, Madam Tia Galgalo, just to give us a brief, some of her sentiments on what she feels about this particular bill. Mheshimiwa Tia, what's your take on this particular bill?
Thank you. My take on this particular bill is that it's going to be a very important day for us, especially the women of this country. This bill is a constitutional provision. I think Kenyans, when they went out there to vote for this constitution, agreed that we are going to have at least not more than one-third in the Parliament of either gender. And at this particular time, the disadvantaged group are the women. We have enough men. So most of the people look at it as if it's women coming to Parliament. Our expectation is that we're going to make history in this country and even in the world, being the first country to have passed a bill that will give preference to the women to be in Parliament in terms of the two-third gender principle. We've done our homework very well. I think we've lobbied all the male members of Parliament. Our principals are really committed. I've received a message from His Excellency Uhuru asking all the Jubilee members to ensure that they're in the House to make this history happen for women and to ensure that the dream of the women of this country happens. From opposition, I think the dinner that we had yesterday, Kalonzo Musyoka came. If we go by what he said yesterday and what we saw, I believe it's not going to be a very difficult vote to pass for women. But what I want to assure Kenyans is that women are not asking for anything more. Basically, if this is a provision in the Constitution, so if one-third gender principle is passed, women will only be given their position in Parliament, which is already vacant. So we are not adding anything extra. We are only providing what is due to the women.
Indeed, looking at it, a Parliament that has been hit almost every other time by quorum hitches. This particular bill, Constitutional Amendment Bill, for it to pass, it requires at least support from 233 MPs. How sure are you that you are going to mobilize the necessary quorum to ensure that this bill passes?
We are hopeful. One thing is that, lobbying and ensuring people to be there is one thing, and wanting this thing to pass is another thing. But I think from the lobbying that we've done and from the commitment that is being shown from both principals, I think it's clear that we're going to pass it. But we also have our second way of really looking at it. If it's not going to happen today, we'll not take the vote today. We'll ensure that at least we have quorum and push everybody to be here. But we are hopeful that today will make history in Kenya.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Tia, for your sentiments. In fact, with me here also is the Mbita Member of Parliament, who has been known to be very, very vocal when it comes to issues gender, and she's been very vocal to ensure that at least affirmative action is implemented in our legal statutes. And it's Millie Odhiambo. Millie, this is a very historic day for members of the National Assembly today, and we see you've been doing a lot of lobbying. What do you expect in the House this afternoon?
Well, we are hoping that our lobbying will bear some fruit. There is a misconception that it's a women's bill. It is not, because I think every member in the House has a mother, has a sister, has an auntie, has a grandmother who may want to come into an elected position. So really for us, it's an important day, and we are encouraging both men and women to come out in great numbers and support this bill.
Indeed, there have been some of the male colleagues feel that given this particular bill, some of the things it's proposing, topping up is maybe like giving you freebies, and they want to see women just also fight it out as you did in Bita, and you are an elected MP. And
that is why I'm actually a good example, that I was not given a freebies. I was given a platform from which I learned. And having learned, I was then able to go and compete. Because as women, we face bigger challenges than men face. When I come in even when I went into Mbita, one of the first things I'm asked is that I'm a migogo. All the male colleagues were not asked. The questions I was being asked, the men were not being asked. So I face greater challenges as a woman than a man. So I'm hoping that we can give women that sort of opportunity that I got, so that other women can join us.
Indeed, there's a provision that if you are nominated, now there's a provision that you must have only maximum of 2 terms.
Of 2 terms, yes.
Your take on that?
And that's good, because it's supposed to be a learning ground. And maybe just one last thing I would want to add is that many people are thinking that we are experimenting as a country. It has been done in Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and the whole region, including South Sudan and Somalia. So actually Kenya is the only country that is lagging behind. And we are saying that as a country that has been a trendsetter, let us continue with that trend setting. But this time we'll be catching up, not really trend setting. And indeed we thank Honorable Duale for championing this, so that it shows that it's not really just a woman issue.
Indeed, that is Honorable Millie Odhiambo. She wants the Kenya to set the trend on matters gender. In fact, this particular bill, maybe just to conclude, one of the issues that it says that this particular affirmative action will be in place for 20 years. So if it applies after the next year's general election, 2017, so it means that by 2037, it is expected that the bill, affirmative action, will be in place, and then this provision, its term will be out. From the National Assembly chamber, the grounds, Patrick Amimo, back to you, Akisa.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for that report. Patrick Amimo there, joining us from Parliament. Members of Parliament will be casting their vote on this crucial bill in a few hours, and Patrick will be keeping us up to date from there on how the vote goes.